Back in year 2007, out in the North Atlantic, we were running a simple Navy patrol, nothing fancy. Cold air, gray water, same crap as every other flight. But the ocean felt wrong that day. Too quiet, like it was holding something back. We were a few hundred miles off the coast when we spotted something drifting that froze all of us. Big, wrong, out of place. That moment cut my life in half. I've never looked at the deep the same way since. So before we continue, please make sure to like and subscribe to support the channel and comment down below where you're watching from. Thanks. I still think about that flight, North Atlantic, year 2007. Cold morning. Sky the same gray you see on busted steel. Swells rolling under us like slow breathing. I was a Navy oceanographer back then, riding the USS Ross. They stuck me on the Bird for a routine run. Nothing special. Just another long patrol in a cold patch of ocean no one cared about. Latine. Jenna Caldwell flew the Seahawk, good pilot. Steady hands. Quiet when she needed to be. PO1 Travis Harlan sat on the gun, legs dangling like he owned the damn ocean. I sat behind them with my gear case, already bored before we left the deck. We all knew the drill, fly a box pattern. Drop a few sensors, log temps, come home. Easy day. Engines thumped through the cabin. That droning hum you feel in your teeth. Caldwell kept the Bird low, skimming above white caps while I prepped the drift sensors. My hands were stiff from the cold. Harlan laughed and told me to stop acting like a soft lab officer. I told him to shove it. Friendly stuff. Nothing serious. I cracked the case, armed the first sensor, and asked Caldwell to slow so I could dump it clean. She dipped us lower. I pulled the lever, and the little cylinder splashed down like it was nothing. One more tick mark in a long list of boring data points the Navy would forget by the next month. Temps feel off, I said after checking the first reading. Weird drop in the top layer, Caldwell shrugged. This whole region feels off. Everything out here feels off, Harlan added. Ocean wants us dead. He always talked like that. Dark humor. Probably why we got along. We turned east. I armed another sensor. More gray sky. More gray water. No birds. No boats. Just endless cold nothing. Hell of a day, Caldwell muttered. Award-winning excitement, I said. We hit the next drop point. Another splash. Another check-in. Another bite of cold air pushing through the cabin. Boredom started settling in deep. Harlan yawned loud enough for headsets to crackle. Then he stopped mid-yawn. Hold up, he said. What the hell is that? His voice went flat. Not joking. That got my attention fast. He pointed down, hard left side. I leaned out and looked. At first I saw nothing except choppy water and faint sunlight smearing through clouds. Then I saw it. A dark patch. Big. Wrong shape. It wasn't a whale. I knew whales. Everybody knew whales. This thing looked longer, too solid. No rolling movement, like it was fixed in place. Jenna, slow us down, Harlan said, already reaching for the camera. Caldwell dipped the nose and circled. Engines groaned as she held a tight turn. I raised my binoculars and locked in. My stomach clenched. The thing was huge. Dark gray, ridge that looked like the front third of a massive shark. But the rest of it wasn't there. Water washed into an open cavity behind the gills. No spine, no tail, just a wound that curved smooth, like something had taken the entire back half in one bite. I lowered the binoculars, blinked hard, then looked again. Same view, same impossible damn shape. That's not a whale, I said. No chance, Harlan replied, voice thin. Caldwell steadied the Bird. How big? Big enough I don't want to be this close to it, Harlan said. I measured the head in my mind. 20 feet? Maybe more. The snout was blunt, the jaw wide. Even with half the body gone, it dwarfed the Seahawk. Take pictures, I said. Get everything. Harlan already was. Camera clicking like a nervous finger on a trigger. The smell hit us next. Even through the cockpit vents. Sour, rotten, heavy. What the hell could carve it like that? Caldwell asked. No idea, I said. But that's a single arc. A bite. From what? I didn't answer. We hovered maybe 80 feet above the carcass. Waves slapped against the exposed skull. A few gulls circled but wouldn't land. Smart birds. I radioed the Ross. Kept my voice steady even though every part of me was buzzing. Ross, this is Airborne 1. We've got a large biological contact. Unknown species, coordinates marked. They asked size, big, shark-like, but half gone, removed clean. Silence for a beat. Then, return to base. Surface team will handle retrieval. I want another sweep, Caldwell said quietly. One more pass. I nodded. She banked us wide, giving me a final look through the binoculars. The head rolled with a swell, mouth opened slightly. I saw a row of triangular teeth, the length of my forearm, sharp even in death. The water around it shimmered dark from whatever leaked out of the wound. The whole thing looked ancient. Wrong for this century, wrong for any. You see that jaw? Harlan whispered into the mic. Yeah, I said. That's prehistoric. We didn't say the word, not yet. I think all three of us were afraid to say it out loud. Caldwell turned us toward the Ross. Engines picked up. Cabin shook harder as we gained speed. I kept my eyes on the windows until the Carcass became a dark smear and then vanished in the mist. The bird felt small, real small. We flew back in quiet. No jokes, no complaints. Even Harlan kept his eyes forward like he didn't want to think about what he'd seen drifting alone out there. Just before we reached the ship, he said, whatever that thing was, it shouldn't be here. He wasn't wrong. And I had the sinking feeling it wasn't the strangest part of the day. We reached Ross about 20 minutes after spotting the thing. Flight deck crew looked up at us like they could smell trouble before we even touched down. Caldwell set the Seahawk down clean. Engines wound down slow, like the bird didn't want to stop shaking. We climbed out without talking. Harlan carried the camera tight like it was some holy relic he didn't want to lose. An ensign jogged over with a clipboard, asking what we found. Harlan just said, "You'll see." The kids stopped joking after that. They hustled me straight to CIC to brief the watch officer. I gave the coordinates, rough size, condition, everything we saw. The crew around the screens got real quiet when I said the rear half looked sheared off in one curved bite. By the time I finished, the Ross was already altering course. Engines roared harder. Everyone felt it. The captain wanted eyes on the thing as soon as possible. We reached the spot about an hour later. Fog had thickened, sea rolling heavier. The Carcass didn't drift far. We spotted it on radar first, then visual. Even from the deck it looked wrong. Huge, lifeless, ancient. A rigid hull boat crew got ready. Standard gear, safety lines, radios. Divers suited up fast, 2 of them. I grabbed my kit and followed. Couldn't feel my own breathing. Just that instinct you get before a job that feels too big. Harlan stood nearby watching us load in. "You sure about this?" he asked. "No," I said. "But it's my job." He nodded once. "No jokes." We hit the water and gunned toward the massive dark lump ahead. As we closed in, the size became obvious. The entire head rose up and down with the swells like a floating boulder, skin rough and scarred, color dull gray, eye socket empty. One giant lid half closed like it died surprised. The divers slipped overboard. I leaned forward staring at the wound behind the gills. It wasn't shredded. It wasn't torn. It was curved. Clean, one bite. Something took the back half of this beast like someone snapping a cracker. "Lieutenant," one diver called over the radio. "You're gonna want to see the teeth." I knelt at the gunwale. They had pried part of the jaw open. Inside were serrated triangular monsters bigger than my hands. One tooth was loose in the gum. The diver pulled it free and held it up. It was almost as long as my forearm. My chest tightened. I'd studied fossils. I knew those proportions. Megalodon. Real one. Except Megalodon wasn't supposed to exist. At all. And even if it did, nothing should have been able to take half its body off like it was lunch. The diver climbed back up and handed me the tooth. Cold. Heavy. Edges sharp enough to slice skin if you pressed wrong. "No one's gonna believe this," he muttered. "They will," I said. "Because we're collecting all of it." We secured lines around the head so the Ross could winch it in. Crew topside handled the cranes like pros. Cables tightened, metal clanked. The Carcass moved slow toward the hull, bumping softly like a drifting boulder. Nobody spoke while working. They all stared. When we got it alongside the ship, the true scale hit us. The head alone was the size of a truck. Jaw wide enough, you could drive a small boat through it. Gills torn, flesh pale and swollen. The missing half, just gone. smooth arc of carnage. The crew whispered behind me, "Is that a Megalodon? No way. That thing's extinct. Then what's big enough to bite that?" I ignored them and started taking measurements. Jaw width, tooth spacing, gash dimensions. I logged every number, snapped photos, sent everything straight to the Navy Research Center. Their reply came back cautious. Too cautious. They asked for more angles, more samples, more anything. That told me all I needed. They suspected exactly what I suspected, and none of us liked the answer. Later, a medic helped me bag tissue from the wound. The cut edge was thick and tough, not torn from scavengers. Something clamped down with pressure I couldn't estimate. The gouges along the remaining skin were long and parallel, spaced far apart. Too far for any known shark. "That's one bite," the medic said. "Has to be." I nodded. One bite from something bigger. The boat crew tied down what they could, though the Carcass dwarfed our gear. Floodlights cut through the gloom as the sun dipped. The body glistened under the beams. Vents hissed from the Ross. Chains rattled. Men murmured. Someone crossed themselves. Another sailor muttered, "If that's a Megalodon, what the hell ate it?" No one answered. Orders came down around 1900. Higher command had seen enough. They wanted a submarine to check the deep area around the Carcass. USS Virginia was already en route. They asked for full documentation from me and to keep the Carcass stable and secure. "Stable," the captain said after reading the message. "Good luck with that." Nobody laughed. I stayed on deck long after dark. Cold ate through my jacket, but I didn't care. Floodlights lit the whole scene in ugly yellow. The giant head bobbed slightly against the lines, teeth catching glints like fragments of some old nightmare. I walked up close and looked into the empty eye socket. Hard to explain the feeling. Not fear. More like realization. This thing had been king of the ocean once. Apex. Nothing challenged it. Except something had. Something big. Something strong. Something that didn't care that it was killing a legend. Behind me, waves slapped the hull. The ocean looked calm. Too calm. I kept thinking about the clean arc where the back half used to be. The perfect shape. The massive radius. It wasn't random. It wasn't messy. It was a bite mark. Something down there took half of a Megalodon and didn't struggle doing it. And the worst part? It could still be down there, waiting, watching, and moving beneath us in the dark. I didn't sleep after we secured the Carcass. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that curved wound, clean and perfect. I kept thinking about scale, pressure, what kind of jaw force it took to make a bite like that. What kind of creature stayed hidden long enough to grow that big? By sunrise, the USS Virginia broke the horizon, black hull cutting through the swells like a knife. She looked calm, controlled, like nothing in the world could rattle her. I knew better. The ocean always wins when it wants to. I packed my gear and got ferried over in a small boat. The ride felt too quiet. Even the waves seemed tired. The Virginia waited for me like a cold steel tomb. Inside, Commander Rachel Sato met me at the hatch. I'd met her once before. Calm, measured, never raised her voice. She shook my hand firm and got straight to business. "Lieutenant Holt," she said, "your report is unusual. No other word for it, ma'am." She nodded once. "You'll brief my crew, then we go under. Higher Command wants a full survey of the seafloor beneath the Carcass." The way she said Higher Command told me everything. They were rattled. They wanted answers, and they didn't want anyone else knowing. I followed her to the wardroom. Crew sat tight around the table, eyes on me. I pulled out the loose tooth from my pack and set it down. The room went dead quiet. "That came from the Carcass," I said. "Teeth match known Megalodon proportions." One sailor muttered a curse. Someone else sucked in a breath. "And the back half of the animal is missing," I continued. "Removed by a single curved bite. No tearing, no dragging, no secondary marks." Sato spoke next. "Our mission is simple. Map the bottom. Look for geological activity. Document anything biological. No engagement, no contact." She looked at every face in the room. "You will not speak of this outside this boat." The crew nodded. They didn't like it, but they understood orders. The Virginia slipped under the surface an hour later. I felt the pressure shift in my ears as we descended. Steel bulkheads hummed. Air turned stale quick. I strapped in at a console as the lights dimmed and the real world disappeared behind layers of metal. Once we passed a few hundred feet, everything turned black outside. Not dark, black. The kind that swallows whole. Sonar started pinging slow. Calm at first, just the usual scatter from open water. Then we felt it. A faint vibration across the deck, like someone thumped the hull with a padded fist. Light but noticeable. "Did you feel that?" the navigator asked. Before anyone answered, a long, low-frequency pulse rolled through the boat. Not sound, not exactly. More like pressure sliding through bone. My teeth buzzed. A couple sailors grabbed their chairs. "What the hell was that?" someone said. "Unknown," Sato said. "Hold course." Readings flickered on the depth monitor. For a second it looked like the seafloor rose hundreds of feet, then dropped again, then everything stabilized. "Interference," the sonar tech muttered. "Not normal," no one argued. We reached the target depth. Sato ordered launch of the first UUV. Crew worked fast, no chatter. They prepped the tether, ran final checks, and sent the small drone into the black. Cameras flickered to life. Grainy at first, then clearer. The seafloor came into view. Flat, cold, empty. "Nothing unusual," I said. "Keep sweeping." The drone drifted across sand ripples. A few rocks. Small sea life flickering in and out of frame. All normal. They panned right. More normal. Then the screen went dark. "Switch feeds," Sato said. "Already did," the tech replied. "All cameras out." Returned the drone. They tried. Commands bounced. Nothing responded. A second later, the tether jerked. Hard. The whole drone arm shivered. The tech hit the recall again. Then the tension vanished. Tether went slack. "Reel it in," Sato ordered. When the tether came back inside, the end was clean. Not frayed. Not twisted. Clean. Like something sliced straight through it. The room stayed silent for a long moment. "What time did that cut occur?" Sato asked. The tech pulled the log. Same moment that low pulse hit us. I wrote that down fast. Hours passed. Everyone felt the shift in the air. Crew moved tense. They kept glancing at the walls like expecting something to scrape across them. As for me, I stared at the note I'd made. Pulse equals cut tether. Pulse equals movement. Something big, something close, and something that didn't like our drone. Later, when the captain asked for thoughts, I cleared my throat. "Ma'am, I think whatever killed that shark is down here, moving around us. And I think we brushed against its territory." No one laughed. No one scoffed. They all knew the truth the moment the drone feed turned black. Sato folded her hands. Calm as ever. "Keep writing everything. No assumptions. No exaggerations. Just facts." "Yes, ma'am." I opened my notebook again and wrote the line that still makes my hands shake when I remember it. "Whatever killed the shark is moving down here. We felt it, and we weren't done feeling it. Not even close." Word spread fast on the Virginia after the first drone got cut loose. You could see it in the crew's eyes. Tight, tired. Nobody saying it out loud, but everyone knew we were sharing water with something far bigger than what any of us trained for. But topside had it rough too. We kept contact with the Ross every few hours. Their updates got stranger each time. The Carcass tied alongside was starting to fall apart faster than expected. Divers reported fresh tearing in the flesh every morning. Not scavenger work, not rot. Something new. Something done while the ship slept. The Ross also logged faint thumps on the hull, light at first, then heavier, like underwater thunder rolling far below. The ocean had gone quiet around them. No dolphins, no whales. No noise except the occasional deep knock that made metal vibrate. And all that happened before sunrise. Down in the Virginia, Sonar started showing something none of us had seen before. The tech called me over, face pale. "Sir, look at this." The screen showed the usual scatter of depth lines and ocean clutter. But in the middle of the map was a huge dark chunk, a blind arc. No returns inside it, perfect shape. Big, too big. "It's absorbing sound," the tech said. "How big?" He swallowed. "Bigger than the boat, sir. A lot bigger." We watched it shift a few meters, then stop, then pivot slightly, like something enormous was turning its head. The arc disappeared, then reappeared 10 seconds later, a few hundred meters away. Sato stepped in. Log it, no assumptions. But even she couldn't hide the tension in her jaw. I wrote notes as fast as I could. Whatever this thing was, sonar couldn't penetrate it. No detail, no outlines. Just a hole where sound vanished. Not rock, not sub. Too smooth, too fluid, a living thing. That afternoon, Sato approved launch of UUV number 2. The first loss rattled us, but Command wanted more data. Wanted something concrete. The crew prepped the second drone. They ran the tether through the rollers 3 times to check for damage. I checked the camera feed personally. Everything good. We launched it into the deep. The picture stuttered at first, then cleared. Seafloor came into view again, this time darker, more uneven. Looked like something had churned the sand. Pan left, I said. The pilot swung the drone's view. Shapes appeared. Curved, pale. Piled in uneven arcs, zoom. The camera sharpened. Bones, big ones. Whale vertebrae. At least a dozen. Cleaned white. No flesh. Arranged in 2 sweeping mounds. Jesus, someone whispered. The drone moved past another cluster. More bones. A shattered skull. Ribs bent inward like something crushed it. This isn't scavenging, I said. These are feeding remains. The room stayed dead silent. The drone continued forward. Then the feed crackled. A wash of static took over the screen. The pilot tapped buttons hard. Interference, he said. Something powerful nearby. Pull back, Sato ordered. The drone jerked on camera. Sediment puffed up behind it like something huge passed close. The image shook. The pilot cursed and tried to steady it. Then another static blast hit, harder. The entire screen turned white. Then black. Tether still intact, someone said. Bring it home, Sato said. But the drone didn't move. The tether went tight, vibrating, like something was holding the drone in place. After 5 long seconds, it went slack. The pilot slowly reeled it in. When the drone came up, the casing was crushed on one side. Not caved in, crushed evenly, like a giant hand squeezed it once. The crew stared. Nobody spoke. Back on the Ross, things got worse. Divers refused to go back in without more lines. They swore they saw something below the Carcass the night before. A shadow, too long, too smooth, moving slow, watching. One diver said the Carcass shifted while he was beside it. Not from waves, from something pulling underneath. A petty officer found small splashes of blood on the deck from where the Carcass was tied off. The far side, the side facing the open ocean. Every night, more of the Megalodon head disappeared. Not huge chunks, just strips. Clean strips, peeled off, like something was testing it, or sampling it. On the Virginia, sonar kept picking up the blind arc, sometimes far, sometimes close. Sometimes so near that the tech stepped back from the screen like it might burst through the hull. Crew morale slid fast. You could feel the tension in the mess. Guys staring at their food without eating, heavy bags under eyes. Jokes dying before they finished. Everyone slept badly. Those who did sleep woke up hearing faint pulses in their dreams. Phantom vibrations traveled through the bunks at night. Soft, rhythmic, like something big moving water in long, steady beats. The ocean around us went silent. Not quiet, dead. No calls, no clicks, no whale song. Just pressure and the faint hum of machines. The night everything changed, I was in sonar. The tech stiffened suddenly. Contact, he said. Whale. Lone call. A long, distressed cry echoed through the speakers. Slow, broken, not normal. Something had the whale panicked. It was swimming fast. Then, mid-call, a dull crack rolled through the water. The whale went silent. Debris drifted down in the sonar picture, soft echoes. The tech whispered, "That's bone scatter." I grabbed the mic. Get visual. But there was no visual. No drone, just sonar. Then something big moved through the field, a long curve. A displacement pattern almost too large to fit on the display. Then silence again. Total silence. The kind you feel more than hear. Like the ocean was holding its breath. We reported the event up the chain. Higher command sent back coded messages asking for more documentation. No engagement. No provocation. Keep steady. Keep observing. That alone told me exactly how scared they were. If the Navy wanted data over safety, something deep inside them knew this thing wasn't interested in us yet. And they didn't want to tempt it. Later that night, Sonar recorded one more impact noise. Heavy, deep, muffled, like two massive stones hitting each other under a mile of water. And then, nothing. The board froze so still you'd think the system died, but it didn't. It was the ocean itself, still as a grave. Something out there had fed again. Something big enough to silence everything else. Something using the deep like its own personal hunting ground. I wrote more notes. More sketches. More bite calculations. My hands shook the whole time. I couldn't stop thinking about the Carcass topside. About how it kept disappearing piece by piece. Something was eating a Megalodon. Piece by piece. And now whales. And whatever else drifted into its territory. We weren't watching the ocean anymore. We were inside something's feeding zone, and the pattern was getting clearer. The blind arc was not random movement. It was following something, mapping something, possibly us. And we were staying put, by orders, stuck in the middle of a trench that clearly did not belong to us, or to anything human. And the deeper the Virginia pushed, the clearer the pattern became. Something enormous lived down here, and it wasn't just passing through, it was home. And we were the intruders. By the time we reached the next grid point, everyone on the Virginia was running on fumes. You could feel it in the way people moved. Slow, careful, like the air itself was heavier. Command sent new orders through a coded channel. Short, direct, no wiggle room. Stay beneath the site. Continue tracking the zone. Maintain silence outside secured channels. Do not break off unless ordered. Which meant one thing, whatever was down here scared them more than it scared us. And they still wanted more data. Sato held a meeting in the control room. Crew stood in a tight cluster, faces pale, hands twitchy, nobody hiding the tension anymore. Our job hasn't changed, she said. We stay on mission. We stay sharp, we stay alive. Nobody argued, nobody cheered. We just nodded, quiet, accepting. The way sailors do when they're stuck with orders they don't like, we shifted to aggressive mapping. Hard pings every minute, wide sweeps, narrow sweeps, multiple frequencies, anything that might force the blind zone to give shape. It didn't. Instead, it split. One moment it was a single massive arc. The next, it divided into two smaller arcs drifting apart, then sliding back together. Then it drifted up a few hundred feet, then down again. Like something was turning, feeling, searching. It's reacting to us, the sonar tech whispered. Sato just said, log everything. I watched the waves of sonar ripple out, hit the black patch, and vanish. Like we were throwing sound into a hole. Around midday, the boat lurched. Not sharply, but enough to grab rails. Loose items rattled, lights flickered. Pressure fluctuation, someone yelled. The hull groaned. Not a normal groan, a deep one. Heavy, like something enormous moved water around us. Is that seismic, I asked? Negative, the navigator said. No quake signature. Another wave hit. Not as strong, but still angry enough to make the bulkheads pop. A pressure event, something alive caused it. You don't get that much water displacement without mass. More mass than anything we had a name for. 10 minutes later, the hull got touched. No warning. No sonar spike. No visual echo, just a slow, dragging vibration sliding along the starboard bow. Metal hummed under my boots. Every hair on my arm stood up. It wasn't scraping. It wasn't ramming. It was a glide. Contact. A creature brushing the boat. Everyone froze. No one breathed. Sonar? Sato asked quietly. Nothing, the tech whispered. Just distortion, which meant whatever touched us didn't show. The blind zone was covering the whole interaction. I wrote down one line, it knows we're here. I didn't say it out loud. Meanwhile, topside, the Ross was watching their own nightmare unfold. The radio updates came through in clip bursts. Every morning, more of the Megalodon had disappeared. Clean sections missing, perfect cuts. No scavenger does that. No rot, no decay pattern. Something was eating it piece by piece. Motion sensors rigged along the hull started tripping every few hours, always below the waterline, always near the carcass, sometimes weak, sometimes violent enough to make deck plates tremble. Divers refused to even look over the side. The officers couldn't blame them. Back on the Virginia, crew tension hit a breaking point. Arguments in the passageways. Harsh words over nothing. People's nerves stretched thin from hearing phantom pulses every time they tried to sleep. Senior enlisted started quietly asking Sato to leave the area before someone snapped. They didn't yell, they didn't threaten. They just spoke calmly, which sometimes says more. I stayed neutral. I knew why they were afraid. Hell, I was afraid. But I also knew the Navy wasn't going to let us leave until they got every scrap of information they wanted. Sato listened, took it in, didn't scold, didn't dismiss. But when she gave the order, it was firm. We continue. But we stay safe. No unnecessary risks. The crew didn't like it, but they followed. That night, Sonar caught something new. Not a blind zone, not a distortion. A shape. Just for a second. A curved outline. Not detailed. Not clear. But large enough that the tech sword filled most of the return frame. The outline vanished before we could isolate it. Sato stared at the frozen blip. "Halt?" she asked. I swallowed. That curve matches the bite radius on the Carcass. The room went silent. We all knew what that meant. We weren't dealing with a rogue sub. We were in the water with the thing that killed the Megalodon. And it was big enough that Sonar couldn't even take in the whole picture. Later, when most of the boat slept or tried to, I sat alone in the wardroom with my notes. The pulses felt stronger that night, like they were drifting right through the hull. Not noise, not random, patterns, slow, measured, intentional. Something alive was broadcasting through the water, not communication. More like pressure mapping, feeling its surroundings. I pressed my hand against the bulkhead, felt a faint vibration under my palm. A low beat, the same rhythm as the pulses on Sonar. We weren't observing it anymore. It was observing us, tracking us, studying the boat, maybe sizing it up. Caldwell's voice crackled through the secure channel from the Ross. Tired, strained. "Holt, you hearing what we're dealing with up here? That Carcass is vanishing. Every damn night, something's ripping off pieces the size of mattresses. Motion sensors?" I asked. "Tripping nonstop, and the knocks on the hull are getting heavier. You keeping distance? We're not drifting anywhere near that thing willingly. It's the ocean pulling it closer, or something underneath pulling from below." That part chilled me more than the rest. Something pulling from below, like bait, like territory. Like the Carcass wasn't just food, it was a signal. Near the end of the watch, the Virginia caught one more sonar return. Not long, not sharp, just enough to punch the breath out of us. A sweeping curve, too large, too smooth. The tech whispered, "Sir, I think that's the head." Then it vanished. Not drifted, not moved, just gone. Like it slid out of detection range in one smooth pass. I didn't say anything for a long time, because I knew what we were seeing. Not noise, not mistakes, not glitches. We had just seen the edge of something bigger than the sub, bigger than the ship, bigger than the Megalodon. Something that moved through the deep like it owned it. Something feeding, something territorial, something that didn't need eyes to find us. And for the first time since we started this mission, I realized we might not make it back to the surface. Not all of us. Maybe not any of us. But the orders held. We weren't done yet, not even close. Nobody wanted to say it out loud, but by the time we shifted to the next phase of the mission, the whole crew knew we were heading deeper than we should. The pressure events were getting stronger. The blind zone moved with purpose. The Carcass topside was almost gone. And command still wanted more. Sato stood in control, arms folded, eyes steady. She didn't show fear. Officers don't. But her voice had a sharper edge when she gave the order. We're descending into the trench. Controlled drop. Slow pace. No sudden moves. The navigator swallowed. "Ma'am, depth estimates put the floor much deeper than our usual patrol limits. We're not touching bottom," she said. "We're just getting eyes." That didn't calm anyone. But she was right. Orders were orders. And the trench was the only place the blind zone kept drifting toward. If the thing lived down there, we needed to know. The descent was slow. painfully slow. I watched the depth readings bump down in small increments. The hull creaked as the pressure built. Nothing dangerous yet, but enough to make everyone listen closely. Lights dimmed as we passed deeper thermoclines. Water outside turned colder. The boat felt heavier, like the ocean was grabbing the hull with both hands. Sonar started getting patchy again. Not blind, just fuzzy, like static underwater. A sign something massive was nearby. The pulses came back. Slow, heavy. A beat you didn't hear so much as feel under your ribs. One of the sailors whispered, "It's down here." "I know it." Another snapped back, "Shut up, didn't matter." Everyone felt it. We reached the target depth for launch. Sato gave the nod. UUV-3, prepare for deployment. The crew moved like professionals, even though their hands shook. They ran the checks, verified the tether, confirmed all cameras, even put extra shielding on the housing. The drone slid into the water and vanished in a second. "Feed coming in," the pilot said. The screen lit with faint light, murky. The drone's lamps, illuminated streaks of sediment floating like dust in a room nobody cleaned in years. Then it touched bottom. A pale plain stretched out flat at first, then sloping into darker ridges. The trench walls looked jagged, almost clawed. Not erosion, something scraped them long ago. We moved forward. Shapes emerged. Not rocks, skeletons. Dozens, maybe more. Whale ribs in twisted arcs. Vertebrae lined up like broken ladders. Some large enough to wrap around the drone's frame. Others smaller, scattered like something fed on everything it could catch. "These are old," I said. "Years. Maybe longer." "Everything's cleaned," the pilot muttered. "No flesh. No scraps." The drone turned left. More bones filled the screen. Curved arcs everywhere. Big arcs. Perfect arcs. Bite marks. Single strike kills, just like the Megalodon Carcass. My mouth went dry. I scanned the field again. Whales. Sharks. Giant fish. Some skeletons so warped and crushed, they didn't even look like real animals anymore. A graveyard. No worse. A feeding ground. Long-term. Active. Owned. "This thing isn't passing through," I said quietly. "It lives here." Sato leaned closer to the screen. "How many remains do you estimate?" "Hundreds," I said. "Maybe more below the sediment." Biomass consumption is off the scale. The crew behind me muttered curses. One guy whispered a prayer. None of us looked away from the screen. Then the pulses started again. Harder. The drone's visuals shook. Sediment lifted in waves. The pilot struggled to stabilize it. "What's going on?" he asked. "Something's coming," the sonar tech said. Pressure spike rising. The drone's lights flickered. A shadow slipped across the frame. Not a shape. Just darkness swallowing the view. The pilot pulled back on the controls. Nothing. The drone stayed still. "Reel it in," Sato ordered. We tried. The tether jerked. Hard. Violent. The drone twisted on the screen. Then the feed exploded into static. "Cut power," Sato snapped. The monitor went black. Silence hung in the control room for a long, suffocating moment. Then the tether slackened. We slowly reeled it in. The drone emerged, crushed flat. Not smashed, flattened, like something pinched it between two solid surfaces and squeezed. "That wasn't pressure," a sailor said. Something grabbed it. He was right. Something just crushed a reinforced Navy drone like it was a toy. A few hours later, the boat itself started feeling wrong. Pressure anomalies rolled across the hull in uneven waves. Not enough to breach us, but enough to throw people against bulkheads if they weren't braced. Lights flickered green, then white, then normal again. Magnetic sensors started jumping. Needles swung without reason. Gauges twitched. The air felt heavier. A few of us got pounding headaches. A couple sailors felt nauseous. "Environmental readings?" Sato asked. "Normal, ma'am. Then something else is causing crew effects." And everyone knew what that something else was. After the worst pulse hit, rattling the boat like a giant fist smacked the hull, tempers erupted. The wardroom turned into a pressure cooker. Senior enlisted slammed fists on tables. An officer snapped back. People argued about safety, about orders, about whether this mission was worth dying for. Sato walked in. Quiet. Calm. Arguments died mid-sentence. "We continue," she said. "But we're not pushing deeper until we steady out. Everyone rests. Everyone rotates. No one panics." She didn't raise her voice. Didn't threaten. She didn't need to. But even her presence couldn't hide the fact that the crew was coming apart. This trench wasn't just dangerous. It felt alive, like a place made for something else. Something that didn't want us here. Later, we received new coded messages from command. Short lines. Cold tone. Continue operations. Document all data. Avoid direct interference. They didn't ask about crew safety. They didn't ask about the pulses. They wanted information above everything else. Everyone hated that, but they followed it. That's the Navy. Mere end of shift, sonar went wild. Not noise, not blind zones. Something big moving fast. A massive arc swept into range. Pulses hit the hull, mug lids rattled off tables. Crew grabbed rails. "Brace," the navigator yelled. A pressure wave hammered us so hard the deck plates vibrated. Lights dimmed to emergency levels. Readouts failed one by one. Then came a second wave. Stronger, hard enough the entire boat shook like it might roll. Equipment crashed. Tools fell. Someone yelled for medical. Sato barked orders, calm as ever, but even she had to grab the periscope stand to stay upright. When the shaking finally stopped, the boat hung in dead silence. The last sonar ping came through. Long, echoing, showing an enormous curved shape, bigger than anything we'd seen, filling the whole display. Then the screen flatlined. All readings died, and for a moment we were alone. No noise, no pulses, no returns. Just the dark. A dark that felt like it was waiting, watching, ready for the next move. And we were still descending. Into the feeding ground, into the place that thing called home. And we still hadn't seen all of it, not even close. For a few minutes after the big pressure wave hit, the Virginia sat dead still. Systems flickered back one by one like scared animals creeping out of hiding. Crews staggered around checking pipes, wires, seals, faces pale, hands shaking. Nobody said the obvious. That thing hit us on purpose. The reboot sequence dragged on. Lights flashed amber. Console sputtered. The hum of life support wavered like it was second-guessing staying online. Sato stood in the center of control, jaw tight, eyes scanning everything. "Status," she said. "Reactor steady. Navigation computer restarting. Ballast controls. Hold on, we've got a glitch." That word chilled everyone. "Define glitch," Sato said. "Ballast tank 2 is flooding when it shouldn't be. Automatic control won't shut it." The deck tilted forward. Not much, but enough. "We're descending," the navigator barked. "Not by command," Sato growled. "Manual override now." Sailors ran. Tools clanked. Someone slammed a panel open. Alarms buzzed. Water levels on the display crept higher. My stomach dropped as the depth gauge ticked down. Too fast. Too deep. "Stabilize her," Sato ordered. Finally, after too many seconds, someone shouted, "Tank responding, closing valves." The boat leveled out slowly, like it had been fighting an invisible hand pushing it down. Nobody breathed until the numbers stopped falling. Then came the pulses. 3 of them in a row. Deep, heavy, slow. Not random. Surrounding us. The hull vibrated. Rails rattled. Loose bolts trembled hard enough to whine. Everyone froze and listened. The thing wasn't just near us, it was circling. The sonar tech whispered, "Ma'am, we're picking up displacement on all sides." "All sides?" Sato repeated. "Yes. It's big." The blind zone reappeared on the display. Enormous. Shifting. Sliding across every direction like we were inside a moving ring. Then it broke apart into waves of distortion. One sweeping left, one right, one above us. The creature wasn't one shape. Not to sonar. It was too large for the system to read cleanly. We weren't tracking a body. We were tracking pieces of something the system couldn't handle at once. Sato didn't flinch. Slow ascent. Quiet trim. No quick adjustments. "Why up?" a junior officer asked, voice cracking. "Because it's pushing us down," she said. "And I don't intend to let it." No one argued. The Virginia started to ascend, slow and steady. A controlled rise. No noise, no sudden shifts. For about 30 seconds it worked. Then something hit the port side. Not a slam, a shove. Hard enough to send several of us stumbling. The deck rolled 30 degrees. Coffee mugs shattered. A wrench skidded across the floor. "Compensate," Sato barked. "Trying," the helm shouted. Another force hit us, this time from below. Like something enormous slid under the boat and lifted it just enough to make every joint groan. The hull creaked so loud it felt alive. The pressure gauges spiked. Someone yelled that the meters were redlining. The whole sub rolled onto its side. Metal screamed. The lights flickered dark. My shoulder slammed a panel. Someone else hit the deck hard. I grabbed the nearest rail and held on while the entire world tilted. We were at the mercy of whatever was pushing us. It wasn't trying to crush us, not yet. It was testing, like it tested the Carcass, like it tested the drones, like it was seeing what we were made of. "What's our angle?" Sato yelled. 35 degrees. No 40. We were sliding sideways in the water. No control. No steering. Then something scraped along our hull. No glided. A long, featureless mass. Smooth, heavy, pressing water out of its way. It passed so close the hull vibrated in a slow wave, like a giant muscle sliding past us. The sonar tech whispered a shaky prayer. When the mass drifted off, the sub rocked violently again, this time forward instead of sideways. "Helm," Sato snapped. "Bring us up." "Full correction." "We're trying, ma'am." It's like pushing against a tide with intent. While we struggled below, everything topside fell apart. The Ross called in through the secured channel. "Holt, the Carcass is moving," Caldwell's voice cracked. "The cables are straining." "Movement how?" I demanded. "Like something's pulling it from underneath. Hard." I heard metal snapping through the radio. Shouting. "Wind." Another voice yelled, "Cable 2 just blew. It's submerging." The deck crew tried to tighten the last lines, but the Carcass jerked down again, hard dragging the remaining cables so fast they sang. Then another snap echoed through the channel. Caldwell shouted, "We're losing it." "Back the ship off," I yelled. "Get distance." "We're trying," but the surge wait. A violent roar of wind and water blasted through the radio. "Carcass just went under," someone screamed. "Something's taking it." Static swallowed the call. The Megalodon was gone. Pulled into the deep like bait. Back in the Virginia, the pressure spikes started fading. The pulses grew weaker. The displacement arcs on Sonar drifted away. Whatever tested us was moving off. Not far. Just enough to let us breathe. Systems steadied. Lights flickered back. The deck flattened. Crew collapsed against rails and consoles. "Status," Sato said, voice hoarse. "Rising, ma'am, holding stable. Depth normalizing, ballast fully under control." The sonar tech stared at his screen and finally exhaled. "It's leaving," he whispered. "Ascent," Sato ordered. "Quiet, steady, no dips." Nobody argued. Nobody even blinked. We rose. Slow, careful, praying the thing didn't change its mind. When we finally reached a safer depth, the ocean sounded normal again. The low pulses faded. The interference vanished. The blind zone disappeared. The trench behind us stayed quiet. Too quiet. The Ross came back on comms. Their voices trembled, but they were alive. "The Carcass is gone," Caldwell said flat. "Pulled straight under. Hard enough to rock the whole ship." Sato nodded like she expected that. "Orders from command," the watch officer said. "Both vessels are to leave the area immediately and classify all findings. No exceptions, no argument, we were done." The Virginia turned away from the trench, engines humming low. The Ross did the same. The ocean around us rolled like nothing ever happened. But we knew better. Something massive lived down there. Something that killed a Megalodon like nothing. Something that could play with a nuclear sub and let it live. Because it wanted to. And as we left that place behind, I couldn't shake the thought. We didn't escape, it let us go. They pulled us apart the moment we reached port. Nobody went home. Nobody slept. We got herded into gray rooms with metal chairs and cold lights. Different buildings, different handlers. No contact with other crew. They didn't yell. They didn't threaten. They didn't have to. They just asked the same questions over and over, trying to find cracks in our answers. They kept drilling me with the same things. What I saw, what I heard, if it was a weapon, The shape, the pulses, and every impact I stuck to the facts. The carcass, the bite radius, the blind zones, the drone crushings, the pressure waves, the massive outline, nothing else. They knew I wasn't lying. They had the logs. They had everything from both vessels. After hours, maybe days, someone shoved a stack of forms across the table. Confidentiality agreements, thick ones. They didn't ask. They told, sign or be done. Everyone signed. The official story came later. A tiny paragraph buried in some public Navy log. Large marine carcass discovered during routine operations. Determined to be from an unknown shark species. No threat present. Remains lost due to storm conditions. That was it. The official report erased everything. No missing half, no drone losses, no trench, no pulses, no dead whale, no massive outline, nothing. The truth got buried so deep, the public never had a chance. Even most of the Navy wouldn't know what really happened. I got assigned shore duty after that. Desk work, research papers, environmental modeling, safe, clean stuff. No deep patrols, probably deliberate. Keep me away from anything that might match what we saw, but I kept a few things. Copies of certain measurements, my original notes, ratios, angle sketches, pressure logs, nothing classified. Just stuff they didn't think twice about. At night I'd go over the numbers, trace them with my finger, fit the arcs together, try to understand how big that thing really was. Every time, the answer came back worse. That jaw radius wasn't just bigger than the Megalodons, it was more than double. The pulses lined with mass displacement I still can't explain. They weren't seismic. They weren't mechanical. They were biological. Something living sent them. And the whale kill. I ran the timeline. The creature moved in a pattern. No hunting rush, no random kill. Just patience. A slow arc. A precise intercept. Predators don't get that good by accident. I checked the official archives months later carefully through the channels they let me access. The logs from that deployment were scrubbed clean, stripped down, sanitized. Everything sharp removed. Everything strange smoothed out. If you didn't know better, you'd think we found a dead fish and went home. But Sato knew better. She called me one night, not on a secure line, not through official channels. Just a quiet message asking if I wanted coffee. We met in a small place near the base. She looked colder than I remembered, leaner, eyes tired but steady. She'd gotten the commendation for the mission. Nothing flashy, just a quiet little line about exceptional leadership during deep-water survey operations. She sipped her coffee and spoke low. They're watching the region. I nodded. Because of what's down there. She didn't deny it. They set up long-term monitoring. Passive systems, spread wide. They expecting it to move? They're expecting something, she said. We didn't say the word. We didn't mention Megalodon. We didn't mention the carcass being ripped apart. We didn't mention the blind zone sliding past our hull like a moving canyon. We just sat there quietly, fully aware we almost died in a place the Navy now pretends doesn't exist. Before she left, she said one thing that stuck with me: that trench wasn't empty. It wasn't random. It was a feeding site. I already knew. Months passed. Sometimes I'd scan reports out of habit. Oceanic anomalies, whale strandings, underwater pressure spikes logged by merchant vessels, most of it explainable, some of it not. One report in particular stuck with me. A merchant ship crossing near the same region logged a deep undersea swell. No seismic activity, no storm. Just a wave pushing the hull upward like something massive passed far below. The crew filed it. Nobody responded. Nobody ever does. Too deep, too remote, too classified. But I know what they felt, and I know what's still down there. The trench hasn't gone quiet, not really. It's just occupied. The same way a cave is occupied, or a hunting ground. Something uses that place. Something that killed a megalodon without effort. Something that watched a nuclear sub and let it go. Because it wasn't hungry. Not that day. And every time I think about that, I remember the last thing I wrote in my notebook before they sealed everything up. It wasn't the monster. It was the bigger monster's kill. And whatever owns that trench, it's still waiting in the dark. So that's the end of our video. If you made it this far, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It really helps the channel and it's free. And if you want more terrifying encounters like this one, check out the other videos on screen right now. Thanks for watching and stay safe out there. See you soon.